Morning everybody, how you all doing? So, we'll tell from the title of this video, we're going to be talking about Epping yet again, because I think Epping should be the standard for how these peaceful protests are conducted at the illegal immigrant hotels. So as you all know from the footage, I was watching a citizen journalist called, I think it was We Take No Prisoners, I think that was the name of his channel, if it's not, just mentioning below. So what happened was, the patriots, the concerned parents, whatever you want to call them, were being pushed behind metal fences by the police under threat of arrest. And as soon as this happened, the guy that was doing live stream knew that the lefties were about to be escorted up to the protest yet again, even though the police know that these people are just there to inflame the situation. That there's a difference between protesting and inflaming a situation. If you're going to counter-protest and all you're going to shout is Nazi scum off our streets to concerned parents, because that's what they are. They're concerned parents, concerned locals. They're concerned about undocumented illegal immigrants being placed in their community where they're allowed to roam free, there's no restrictions on them, and they can go wherever they want. And this is putting their families, their children at risk. This is what these people, and the majority of people up and down the country, are protesting against. They don't want these people in their communities because they're dangerous. That's why they're protesting. And like I said, the protest in Epping should be the standard for how these things are conducted. Because when the far left were escorted by the police into the field right next to them, by the way, so they could shout abuse at the concerned parents. All they were met with was singing and a party atmosphere. Now they were chanting their usual slogans. You know what I'm talking about. Nazi scum off our street. And let's talk about this one, shall we? Because this is my favourite one they chant, and it's blatantly a lie and untrue. There are many, many more of us than you. Well, when you have to bus people in from all over the country just to get a reasonable sized group of people, there are not many, many more of you than us. There are not. That's a lie. And as we could see from the other day when the protests were at their height, there were many, many more concerned parents and locals than there were of Stand Up to Racism, which is an absolute joke of a name. Let's just call them what they are: communists, socialists. And the ironic thing was, lots of people pointed this out, that those protesters that were in that field shouting abuse and obscenities at concerned parents and locals were from the teachers' union. So the people in that field were teachers. These are the people that are trusted with the care of your children, and yet they think it's appropriate to go to an event like this, an event which is highlighting concerns of parents about serious breaches of the law being made against their children. I'm talking about sexual assault and rape against their children, and yet we have the teachers' union made up of teachers in a field shouting and chanting Nazi scum off our street at parents. Let that sink in. Now let's talk about the police again, because the police are the police are absolutely appalling. They really are. So as I said earlier, we had the police threatening the concerned parents and locals saying you either get behind the fence or we'll start arresting people. And then we had another contrast. This is the same event at the same time, was regarding the lefties in the field, which were made up of, the security was, shall we say, of Middle Eastern origin. I'll let you come to your own conclusions about that. They were deliberately antagonistic, but there were clearly breaches of the peace taking place, and the police just stood there and did nothing. We all saw it on camera. We saw them deliberately antagonising citizen journalists. They were stood there. They weren't even saying anything to the crowd. They were just stood there, and they were trying to put the signs in people's faces. There was one guy with fuzzy hair who, in my opinion, should have had his hard drive checked. Definitely, in my opinion, was trying to push his sign into the citizen journalist's face who was doing the live stream. Police officer did nothing. Now, to me, from what that chief constable was saying the other day during his press conference, he was saying that he arrested individuals outside the Bell Hotel in Epping to prevent a breach of the peace. So where was that attitude when we have people deliberately trying to provoke others? Where was that mentality then? Where was that mentality last night of, yeah, we've got to arrest them because they're going to cause a breach of the peace? It's blatantly two-tier policing. It's blatantly obvious. We can all see it. It doesn't matter what the police say. We know it exists. They can get on camera and lie all they like now. We can see it because we have... It's like what Tom Robinson said. We're the media now. We're the media now. And you can't lie anymore. You haven't got control of citizen journalists. You're trying your hardest to, but you don't have control of them. You've lost control of the narrative because your lies at every opportunity are now being exposed by those people who turn up at these events and film everything without edit, without a spin, without a narrative. And it's waking people up. So yeah, the police blatantly two-tier policing. I'll give you another example, the Norwich protest, where James Harvey was arrested on, I think it was a racially aggravated charge along with a fray. And let's not forget the guy who whistle blew, I believe his name is Luke, was also arrested at the same time. No pattern or coincidence there, is there? The two main people that are going to go and speak, who are going to reveal the truth to people about what was really going on in that hotel, are both arrested on the same day, just before a protest is about to take place. Not a coincidence at all, that, is it? Blatant two-tier policing, blatant the state and the police aligning to silence the state's political opposition, to silence people speaking out against the state. And this is something the police need to realise. I've said this before in my live stream. The Starmer regime is not going to last. It's got very wobbly legs. It's on very shaky ground. And let's just be totally blunt about this. We have no freedom of speech in this country. We have no freedom of expression. It's very, very limited and controlled. The laws surrounding free speech and free expression are nebulous, and they're subjective, and the police enforce them subjectively. They police different groups of people differently within the law. That's obvious. That is a fact. Nobody can deny that. If you're denying that, you're a liar and you're lying to yourself. We can all see it. We all see it. And the only way that tyrants, because he's a tyrant, Keir Starmer is a tyrant, he is a dictator. He isn't concerned with the actual law or people committing crime. He's paranoid about people rising up against him and taking the power away from him. That's what he's paranoid about. That's why he's bringing in all these draconian laws, the online safety bill. He's trying to stop people talking and criticising what he's doing in this country. These are classic actions of a tyrant and a dictator. There are no doubts about it. So all these people online who are talking about, if we're not careful, we're going to end up in a dictatorship, we're going to end up with a tyrant. You already are. We already have a tyrant as a prime minister. We already have a dictator in charge. And the only way these people can administer their power is through people willing to do their bidding. And that's what the police are doing. They're very much on the wrong side of history. They're heavily politicised. The police chiefs, the police commissioners are all politicised. And once you have people at the top of organisations who shouldn't be political, but who are, then that organisation is compromised and controlled. No doubts in my mind about that anymore now. We can see it with how they're policing different groups of people. We'll go back to James Harvey. So we'll go back to the two-tier policing again. He was arrested for merely saying words, allegedly saying things against people within the illegal immigrant hotel. Yet his mother, not his mother, it was, I think, Sidney James's mother, his girlfriend, she was punched in the face at one of these protests, right in front of a police officer. You've probably seen the video. The police officer did nothing. They just escorted the offender away without arresting him and told Sidney James's mum to go back to the protest. Blatantly two-tier policing on show. And yet we still have the police spouting bullshit about them policing without fear or favour. That slogan is worthless and meaningless now. It's not true. It isn't true anymore. We have the police lying to us, saying that we didn't escort masked up Antifa to one of the Epping protests, when they clearly did, because once again a citizen journalist was there filming them at the train station, the police waiting for them to escort them up to the protest. Another example of two-tier policing. Patriots, concerned parents at the Epping protest were asked to remove face coverings. Not so with the Antifa mob marching up yesterday. I saw several of them wearing masks. None of them asked to remove their face coverings. Again, two-tier policing. You're policing one group of people differently to another group of people. The law is not the law unless it is applied equally to everybody. The law stops being the law when it's oppressive, when it deliberately targets certain group of people within our society and comes down heavier on them than it does on other people. Bit of a rant, but I'm just saying it how it is. People need to wake up to the fact. This country is in very, very deep trouble at the minute. We really are. And I don't think people realise just how bad things are. Also, the far left only managed to last half an hour because the tactics didn't work. They were there to antagonise that protest and hopefully get them violent so the police could go in there and make arrests, who looked like stormtroopers, by the way. The police were dressed with full riot gear, ready to jump into action against the protesters. Absolute massive show of force again. But they didn't get their wish, because all the lefties were confronted with, let's call them what they are, communists, All the communists were confronted with was people singing and dancing and laughing in their faces at their pathetic little chants. And then what happened? They turned tail after just half an hour and went away. Many of them probably travelling for hours to that location, just to shout Nazi scum off our streets to a bunch of concerned parents. Defeated, left with their tails between their legs. Absolutely and completely defeated. Anyway, you have a good day. This is Vindicator, sign off.